Okay, everybody. I think we are going to start the presentation now. I hope everybody is as excited as we are. As you saw in the message, we have two presenters today. It's myself. I am the president of Content MX, and we have our recently a certified application for the Hub Exchange. And we also have Altaf with us. Altaf, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Folks, I'm the founder and CEO of ListEngage, and what we do here at ListEngage is help companies transition from inefficient, ineffective broadcast marketing campaigns to very relevant, targeted one-to-one communications. And our laser-sharp focus is on email, social, and mobile. And we are a long time exact target partners and very good friends and with Content MX, Jeff and Peter as well. And we do a lot of work together as the two companies together.
Yes, we do. And so for today's presentation, we're going to do a little bit of a handoff back and forth. So I have muted everybody except for Altaf and myself, obviously. And we will begin shortly with going through the setup of how to think about content marketing. We're going to talk about the different aspects of it. And we're going to get through to how the Hub Exchange works within the applications, and then we'll finish off with some Q&A. So if that makes sense for everybody, we can start from that point forward. I see that a few more people are arriving, so I'm just going to wait one more minute for them to all jump in effectively. Okay, I see that we have the list, so we'll start. So So the way I typically like to start our conversations is I like to really dive into the challenges that people face on a regular basis. And what we've found is that a lot of organizations are struggling with this idea of what's going on with social versus all the other digital channels that you deal with. We always find that our business managers come in and we're going digital, we're going Facebook, YouTube, we got this great idea, we got to do it all, but they don't really know what to do. They say, well, we'll figure it out later. We just have to be there. And that's really something that we try to talk about as you don't want to just have to be there. Because if you're going to have to be there, then you're in this oh crap scenario where, oh my God, where am I going to be? What am I going to be doing here? I have all these different locations that I'm trying to publish to, and I can't manage it. It's impossible. And it's impossible to keep track of all this stuff. So we want to talk about how do we try to keep it easy? Look, the bottom line is we might have all these great new digital mediums, but if it's not going to drive the most important thing for everybody's business, which is money, then what good is it? So we start by telling people that marketing should start with the letter C, because content is the cornerstone of everything that you do. Content can define everything from just a standard email newsletter to what you're publishing on social to how you respond to questions on LinkedIn. And Michael Brenner says this really well. Content marketing is the idea of placing content everywhere your customers are going to be and making sure that it has a quantifiable ROI. And think about that. We hear a lot about the ROI of social being, how can we return on ignoring this? And that's important. But you really want to know what your content value is on all digital mediums. So you want to think about how you're portraying yourself and what the story is that you're trying to tell. And when you break down the value points of content, the first point is that content allows your natural search rankings to improve. If you have frequency and recency, people will try to find that content. They'll use Google, and Google will give you a high ranking. And the difference between content marketing and paid search in this situation is like owning a house or renting an apartment. When you own a house, you're building equity, you're building ownership. When you rent, you don't own anything. With content marketing, you're starting to own your customers. You're starting to build that relationship and sustain and grow that relationship until it turns into real marketable dollars. And even in Google's own words, in essence, you can shit the bed on everything else that you're doing. But as long as you're giving good content, they want to deliver it. Let's think about that for a second. What does Google want to be? They want to be the ultimate in content delivery. They want to be the company that you go to instead of just going to a library to look for books or information. You go to Google and you search, and they want to deliver that information. The better they are at that, the better they will do. So as long as you're trying to uphold those standards where you're delivering good and engaging content, then Google's going to try to support you. So we mentioned Google and what their goals and objectives are. You publish content, they return it. But then you got to think about, what does every other social media landscape have of value to me? What content or what are they delivering of value that I can use to build my business? So if we break this down and we take a look at what's the value of Facebook, well, Facebook does not have an SEO value because Google does not search Facebook. Facebook is trying to launch their own social search engine, but that has not been proven to have value as of yet. Maybe it will, so I'm not going to say not. But if we break down the value points of each different social network, we should really consider what it is that each one is really good at. And for Facebook, I'm going to take the number one. If you're a B2B or B2C company, it's a great forum for having a conversation. People are not going to find you on Facebook, but once they have access to your Facebook page, they will start to engage you and have a conversation. And for all businesses, conversations have that great opportunity to lead for sales. Now, Google Plus is a different animal. And if you think about what Google Plus is and why it has value, Google Plus's value will be for your natural search. Because, of course, Google wants to deliver great content. So if you use Google Plus, that will help deliver great content. Twitter is also a searchable forum. Twitter, once again, will help you with your natural search rankings. And LinkedIn is another great forum for you to look at as a way for a conversation. Here, I have to disagree with the way the CMO.com placed it. They looked at it as brand exposure. I don't think LinkedIn is that great at brand exposure personally. I think, yes, you should be there. What I think LinkedIn is really good for is having content that you're delivering to a large group, a group that has defined themselves as being interested in the topics you want to talk about. And then for you to respond to those people and having a conversation within LinkedIn groups that you could then pull out and then have a conversation with them either on Facebook or on email, having that one-to-one engagement. So as we think about our content strategy and where we're delivering our content, we need to have a clear idea of the value points of each one of these different social networks. And then I hear all the time. So I started a company back in 89, 98, that was an email marketing company. And when I started that company in 98, everyone said, this is great, great work. Email, print, and direct mail is dead. So email is going to take over the world. Well, it has, but it hasn't killed direct mail. We hear a lot that social has been killing email. Well, that's a lot of hooey. The reality is that email is still the number one digital medium for delivering results. Your customer acquisitions are higher, the customer loyalty is higher, It is the highest medium for delivering transactions. So once again, comparing this medium to every other medium that's out there, what is its value? Its value is it drives traffic to the different destinations for you to have a conversation, whether that conversation's on your website or on Facebook or even in a LinkedIn group. Email is the number one medium for driving traffic. And proof that an integrated program from email to social works is we have Altico advisors. And I believe we actually have one of the people who work for Altico on the phone with us today. So thank you for joining us. And Marcia Doran has done a fabulous job with Altico advisors. She has driven more traffic to her website by integrating an email and social and blog and content marketing approach. She attributes 40% of the new clients in 2012 to her content marketing strategies. So this is proof that it works. Altico Advisors, as a Microsoft channel partner, has increased their business with these content marketing tactics. But when we think about our content marketing tactics, we also need to think about the platform or the medium that people are going to read your content on. And Altaf is going to share with us some of that information here because more people use a mobile phone today than a toothbrush. Altaf, why don't you take it from here?
Great, Jeff. Thank you very much. So I think I just want to reiterate what Jeff said in a bunch of previous slides, right? I mean, 6 years ago, we all know Facebook didn't exist. As I love to call it, Twitter was a sound at that point of time, and the cloud was only in the sky, and 4G was a parking spot as we all knew it, right? A lot has changed in the last 6 to 7 years. The marketing paradigm has shifted entirely in front of us. Jeff is making a very powerful case for content being the secret sauce or the cornerstone of your marketing efforts. So with that said, if content is king, then I've often said conversion is queen, right? It is the holy grail. It is why we're all in the business of marketing, to advance our company's cause, our careers, and that's sort of the holy grail for marketing. I mean, conversion. In that vein, what I want to do today is weave a story or build on this particular case. I want to talk about content first, which we've spoken for a few minutes now. Then an important channel to deliver this content, email, and I'll actually then lead on to a frontier that we think you can't ignore, which is the mobile frontier. I'm sure you'll all agree that if we want to create relationships today with our customers and prospects, then you need to accommodate their needs and requirements and communicate with them on their own terms. I often say this to our team members and our clients and prospects that there's way too much noise and clutter out there, and having a larger megaphone just won't cut it. People buy when they're ready to buy and do so from people and companies they respect and trust. So as companies, what do we need to do? Stay top of mind. We have the 4R strategy, which is sort of well documented out there, right? Engaging the right prospect or the customer with the right message at the right time via the right channel. Easier said than done, but if you can think about that every day as you develop your campaigns, I think you're going to do a better and better job at marketing. So just to sort of go to the next slide, and I'll stay there for a couple more minutes, Jeff. That's the content case, email case, right? Email, according to what Jeff said, I completely agree, still marketing's workhorse, right? Social media is the shiny thing out there. Absolutely, if done correctly, is important for listening and engagement. But you go to most social experts' websites, or you go to the social sites as well, LinkedIn and what have you, the first thing they ask you for is to sign up via email, via your email address. Why? Email is a great relationship building and retention tool, and to me is the linchpin of relationship marketing. Frederick Reichel in the Loyalty Effect says it very clearly. 60% of your website visitors will defect before their first purchase. How do you engage these people over the long term? Relationship building is marketing 101, and email helps you do that. It lets you stay top of mind in your audience's inbox so that when their interest is piqued and they're ready to buy, you're right there with your message, and hopefully by that time you've built enough trust with them so that they look at you as a trusted source and want to buy your products or services. The last frontier, as I call it, I mean, in this story that we are weaving, is the mobile case. We're living in a world where there are more mobile devices activated than there are babies born. It's sort of what I read the other day in a mobile document somewhere. The average person looks at their phone more than 50 times a day. what do we all do? Get up in the morning. First thing we do is check our phones for calendar, weather alerts, emails. It's like a mini desktop in our hands. It actually does a whole lot of things better than my desktop does these days. Multiple updates, updating my apps and what have you. So you'll agree with me that mobile is no longer about what you can do on your cell phone. We were all a little bit forgiving over the last couple of years, a few years ago, as to what mobile could do. But today, it is about doing more all the time. So look at these stats right here from our friends at Litmus and Exact Target. Mobile opens are up 120% in the last 18 months. 42% of those email opens are on a mobile device. 97% of those mobile opens come from these three environments, the iPhone mail, the iPad mail, and the Android 2.2 plus. Despite all this, only around 30% of marketers know their mobile email open rate. I actually think that mobile open rates have gone up. 42% of email opens on a mobile device. That number has become 43, 44 as of last month. And I think the 30% of marketers that know their email open rates, that's a little bit high. I mean, I can guarantee you, sitting in a room, you ask 10 marketers, not more than a couple know their mobile open rates. So I think with all that said, if the customer can see the email or grasp the key message, then it doesn't matter how great your content is or how innovative your or creative your design is, right? We're talking about great content being delivered. And let's talk about that mobile triage myth that a lot of marketers hide behind, right? We are guilty of it as well. Oh, by the way, most of our emails that are important, we'll look at it on our mobile phones. And then guess what? If it's important, I'll go back to my desktop and look at it again. It doesn't happen. It's about interacting with your customers or prospects at the right time on the right device. And that's sort of what it's all about these days. Very few emails you go back to your desktop, less than 2% or 3%. So if you go to the next slide, Jeff, by now, I think what you can see here is where we are going with this. You can't ignore these numbers or the mobile frontier. Content is supremely important. Email is a great channel. What we'll talk about when I come back a little bit later is how do you design for the mobile inbox. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of that and show you some real before and after. We all love real before and after weight loss, before and after examples, and we'll show you some real before and after samples of what happens when you take a newsletter, our own newsletter, if you will, and apply responsive email design techniques to it. So we'll take a look at some before and after figures as well, or pictures as well. But to leave you with a little teaser, here are some success stories, right? If you do the right things, the image on the right shows you a desktop version of your email, and below is the mobile version of your email. By applying responsive tactics, Career Builder saw a 25% increase in clicks. Decker Shoes, a 10% increase in clicks. And Savvy Mom saw a 3x lift in click-to-open ratios. And the important thing here is 12% of those who opened on mobile clicked versus only half that, 6% of them who opened on a desktop. It goes to show that I had my phone in my hand, the email looked good, I wanted to purchase something, 12% of those versus 6% on a desktop, right? So I think these success stories make a very strong argument. Companies that are doing this, companies that are applying mobile-aware, mobile-friendly tactics or responsive email tactics are gaining an edge over the competition. So I hope I've added on to what Jeff has started out to talk about, which is content as a cornerstone, email as a marketing workhorse, and mobile as a great frontier. With that, what I'm going to do is give it back to Jeff to talk about some execution strategies, and I'll come back later and tackle responsive email design, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it, Jeff.
Thanks, Altaf. So I think we started to frame the story for you a bit here. Hoping that you're thinking, okay, so yes, we get this. Content is important. The medium, we have to know what the goals and objectives are of the medium that it's being read on. And we have to have a clear understanding of how mobile interfaces with all of this. So great. So that's helpful. But then where do I start? How do I get going on this? That is always the question that I get next, which is, thanks for sharing, but how do you execute? So I like to start off in a simple way, which is building that content strategy. Thinking to yourself, what is the goal that I'm trying to accomplish here? Let me give you a hint. It's not to become a thought leader. That is an outcome that happens when you are talking and writing some great content and helping people understand the value of what it is that you do. right? It's all about very simple things. In that early slide, I showed you a person trying to get right to the money. I call it dominoes to dollars. You want to be able to knock down as few dominoes as you can in order for you to get to the money. So being a thought leader is helpful and is an outcome, but the goal is to create a content strategy that helps you to increase your sales. And the way to do that is to start with the first few steps here, which is defining that editorial calendar, figuring out what it is that you need to write about. I like to tell people come up with 10 questions that need to be answered before someone's going to make a purchase decision. Don't go off the rails on this. I see a lot of Facebook posts where people are just posting fun and entertaining things, but at the end of the day, those fun and entertaining things are not leading people to making a purchase. They're talking about a weekend trip, but they're not in the travel industry. They're talking about what's on TV, but they're not selling televisions. So what you want to do is sustain your content programs through all digital mediums to make sure that they lead through and answer those 10 questions. Now that you've got the 10 questions, the next challenge that you're faced with is what and how and where do I get content? Do I have to write the content? I might be a small business. I might not have time to write a continuous stream of content, especially since, Jeff, you just told me I need to have this frequency and recency of content that is constantly published so Google will show my site up. So how do I do that? Well, the great thing about this new age that we're in with the new digital mediums is there's actually a tremendous amount of people out there who are able to make money by being content providers to lots of different people. And these are people who have decided, you know what, I'd like to make a little money on the side. So I'm a retired editor or writer for a major company, or I'm a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad and I have extra time on my hands and I want to make a few extra bucks. So I'm a professional writer who has left the market but still wants to dabble and do stuff. And that's where you get the crowdsourced content from. Content that can become that heartbeat that you need in order to sustain an ongoing piece of content on your website and your social pages, on your blogs and your email, on a regular and reoccurring basis. Then there's another place. There's the user-generated content. Conversations happening on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn groups. These conversations are excellent. Not only are they excellent, but they're actually probably answering questions that you want to have answered. So you might go to a LinkedIn group and see that a conversation is happening that is perfect for your market. Someone else is selling the ideas of what they need to do in order to buy product from your company. So you go take that conversation and leverage it in your own communication programs. If you're having trouble with figuring out what your questions are, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn are also great places for those questions for you to find those questions. What are people asking? And then video. We talk about video content. I didn't touch too much on YouTube, but YouTube is tremendous for your SEO. And a lot of people get very overwhelmed by content. But let me tell you, once again, keep it simple. Take your phone, video one of your customers having a conversation about the value that they've gotten from you as a client or you as an organization, and then that video, put it up on YouTube. It will be viewed. People will appreciate the natural nature of it all. So now we've talked about the different types of mediums and different types of content that are out there. So what we really need to do is think about where do we publish it all and how do we publish it? Too often I get organizations who say I have an email person to my right, I have my web person in the center, and I have my social person on the left. And they never talk. Well, that's a big problem. You need to bring them together. You don't want to have separate publishing initiatives. Everybody should be going off of the same playbook. Your 10 questions should be answered on all mediums, and they should be interfacing with each other. We're going to talk a second about what that means to interface with one another, because they work better together. And you need to find an application that helps you manage your newsletter to your social to your website. And obviously, one of the reasons we're doing this call is because of the Hub Exchange program that we have with ExactTarget to make sure that that works. And our partner ListEngage makes sure that that works. So let's think about this for a second. Social and email, it's like the chocolate and the peanut butter. If you're as old as I am, you remember the commercial where the guy was walking through the hallway and he had his chocolate bar and the woman had their peanut butter and they were talking and they bumped into each other and they did, you got my chocolate and my peanut butter, you got my peanut butter and my chocolate. And then they realized that they go great together. Well, guess what? Email and social go great together. Social drives email, email drives social. They should never be separated. And that content, when it's in your email, is read over a mobile device. It is the number one medium for creating social conversations. Social content in email, the highest click rate that you're possibly going to get. And the case studies and white papers have the highest share rate. So let's put it together. Let's talk a little bit more now about when that content is in email. How do you make sure that it's going to be engaged? How do you make sure that it's the right design? And I'm going to hand it back to Altaf for him to continue that piece of conversation.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Boy, that picture of the peanut butter and chocolate was making me hungry. I'm glad you took it away, Jeff, quickly. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing about content is you generate great content, and like we've talked about, right? The COPE strategy, you create once and publish everywhere. That gives you a lot of good, great SEO value. But anyway, let's go back to this designing for the mobile inbox. I mean, great content, good email channel, and then now you talk about the issues that lots of marketers are facing, which is rendering in the mobile inbox, responsive email, and things of that nature. Let's take a step back a little bit. Previously, all of us as marketers had few choices, right? Those were stick strictly with single column text and small images, not very appealing, but something that always rendered. Or you could have made many versions of your emails, one for each family of device. You write enough code to recognize the device before you decide which version to render. This worked, but it was a lot of work and makes for very long emails, and sometimes could get caught in spam filters as well. Or, as most marketers did, you could forget a set of devices and aim for what you think based on your gut, what is the most important. Aim for desktops and forget smartphones. That to me feels like a strategy that's not right. You're immediately eliminating some of your best leads and leaving a lot of money on the table from people not being able to read your email on mobile phones, right? So what is responsive email design? And simply put, it makes the email dynamically fit the screen that it is being viewed on. As simple as that. An email comes to my desktop, looks good on my desktop. An email comes to my mobile phone, it renders well on my mobile phone. Renders well, it doesn't just mean that it fits in the screen, but fits such that I don't have to pinch and zoom, scroll, and things of that nature quite a bit, right? That's what responsive is all about, right? So here's the picture on the left is the one on the desktop, the one on the right is on my mobile phone, and you can see how column 3 flips under content area 2, and content area 6 flips under content area 5, and 1 and 4 actually reduce in size a little bit. That's just responsive email design 101, and we will talk a little bit more in the future slides. But businesses today, large or small, I mean, big companies, small companies, have very few choices but to assure that their emails are mobile friendly and designed with responsive email considerations, right? The alternatives to us are far from acceptable. But the thing is, responsive email requires some refined design sense and some very good CSS skills. So with that, Jeff, you want to move over to the next slide. But before you go responsive, right, there are some pros and cons. I mean, don't just jump into it. Here's what it is. Responsive email design uses the CSS React media queries. The common misconception is that it detects device type. It does not detect device type. It actually detects the screen size and renders accordingly. The advantages are that if the media type isn't detected, it rolls back to the standard version. You can actually hide and remove content on smaller screens, and you can create customized calls to actions. Those are some of the pros, and you'll see those pros applied to our after version that I'm actually about to show you in a few minutes as well. But there are some cons as well, right? Cons, if you think in terms of time and effort and what have you. A lot of clients come to us and say, here's our email, ListEngage Content MX. Can you just convert that over to responsive email? Can you add that magic line in there? It doesn't happen. It's more than just a line of code. It actually forces some tough choices. You've got to go back to the drawing board. You've got to look at it and say, one table versus two tables. What content should I show? What content should I not show? All of those things are important. And not for the faint of heart, I call it, not a very quick fix. It requires some good CSS ninja skills. And in my opinion, as you do it, at least for the first few times, which is the case with everything, it increases time in production. You've got to take that email, you've got to now submit it to tools like Litmus, you've got to see whether it renders correctly, and if you're doing it for the first time, I guarantee you it won't render well, so you've got to have to tweak it back a little bit and things of that nature. And again, so those are some pros and cons, but you don't have to. Again, we'll send you a recording of this or the slide deck itself. And I don't want to show off my picture on the right, but the reason is so that you can actually find that blog post on our website very easily. What we did is work with our experts and friends at Content MX and created a 3-part series on responsive email design that says why, the actual how, and the benefits of it, and how can you get help. And if you go to our blog from our website, you'll actually find part 1 with that title. You can read part 1 and just go on to part 2, which is actually the details of how it's all done, and then back to the part 3, right? So I think, Jeff, with that, if we go to the next slide, here's what we can do. Again, absolutely. So when this is sort of where we are, right? What that previous slide they gave you was sort of the bird's eye view, the pros and cons of responsive email design. But if you actually want to know how to get things done, what I call the worm's eye view, read that 3-part blog series. And here's to us what we've done. The reason we wrote that 3-part blog series is we actually converted our own newsletter applying responsive email design tactics, and every step we documented along the way and created that blog post. So what you see on the left is our Engager newsletter. It's a typical email newsletter. It uses well-formatted HTML, which is designed for email. This means that the Engager template uses inline styles, as most of you are aware, table formatting to determine a very specific email design. That's the look and feel of it on a mobile phone. I don't think it looks bad, but most emails on mobile phones, you can only see the image or the top left corner. You can't see the entire email. In this case, even on the top left, without applying responsive email, you could see the entire newsletter. But what we wanted to do was give a better user experience. So what did we do? We applied those responsive email techniques, and here's what happened, right? The after version is the version that you actually see on a mobile phone after deploying or applying responsive email techniques. Here are a couple of things that we had to consider. There are way too many links at the very top in the before version. Are those important on a mobile phone? We didn't think so. It was causing a lot of clutter. So we actually just kept the 2 that are very relevant for a mobile phone. Share, people want to share it, and the forward button. And as you can see, those share and forward are right there. So we cleaned the links on top and kept the share and forward. The read more links on the before version are very small. We had to mush our fingers, and we like our newsletter. We want to click on a lot of things, by the way, but we had to mush our fingers to actually pinpoint to the hyperlink. So what we did was we defined a CSS class called mobile button, which will convert any hyperlink into rounded corners on most devices. So you actually see the read more links being converted to read more buttons, the green buttons with rounded corners, if you will. Very easy to click, very mobile friendly. And we also had to do a few other things. This email, I'll get a little technical and explain it over here, but before we did it, this was one full table. The articles on the left in orange were one table, along with the links on the green. They were all one big table, by the way. Very hard to apply responsive email techniques if it's designed like that. So we had to break it up. The 3 articles on the left are now in one table by itself, and the green bars on the right, the 2 of them, the vertical column is in a table by itself now. So once you put those in two different tables, what happens is when you apply responsive email techniques, take a look at the picture on the far right here. We've stretched it so it looks a little odd, but we wanted to show you the effect of how it looks on a mobile phone. You see the articles with very few links. You see the read more buttons that are very clickable, and the column on the right actually flips under the three articles. So I've got my mobile phone. I'm in a bus. I'm at the airport. I am at a restaurant, and I just can use my thumb to scroll from top and down and read the entire email, right? So that's sort of what we did. Why did we do all this? Customers, we feel, are more empowered and less loyal than ever these days. And if their expectations aren't met, they click away to a competitor with ease. We don't want to lose them. Customers demand to be treated personally, immediately, and it's all about instant gratification. They want to talk to you through their preferred medium. So we applied these techniques, and we know with our not just art, but science, finding out our mobile open rates, they're climbing up. Every time we send out our newsletter, we see that more and more people access our emails on a mobile phone. So we were actually looking at applying some of these techniques. We've mastered them, and we help a lot of our clients apply responsive email tactics and techniques. With that, what I want to do is actually give it back to Jeff. These are some behind the screen, behind the scene ways of converting emails to mobile. These are some concepts that you should be aware of. But what we're also going to cover today is the Hub Exchange application that ContentMX has built. That's the social butterfly one, which actually helps you to a great degree convert your email templates to mobile-friendly emails. And you create those mobile-friendly emails within the ContentMX application, and you push it right to exact target. That integration is in place. We've helped the ContentMX folks integrate the application. We've seen it work, and we are deploying that joint solution for a few of our customers. So with that, I'll give it back to Jeff to talk a little bit more about this and show you how the ContentMX and Social Butterfly application can help you folks with responsive email techniques as well, Jeff.
Oh, thanks a lot, Altaf. That was great. Now we have a clear understanding of how to ensure that our email is going to be read and viewed within a mobile device, which is obviously important. I recently spoke at a conference, which was a tech conference in Orlando, and I asked everyone in the room, I said, so how many of you have read your email today over your phone? And they all raised their hand. So if you're selling to the IT community, you can bet that 40% or 44% is actually closer to 100%. They're all engaging in it. So now that you have that format met, we talked a lot about the social content driving the interaction. And people are spending a lot of time on their mobile devices with social. And that content in the email will help generate the engagement that you want. So if you think about what does social content do in an email? Well, it generates more qualified sales leads. It accelerates the growth of email lists and increases ROI, grows the brand reputation, and extends the reach of your content exponentially. So that content, the integration of the email, as we said a few slides back, becomes so important to the overall value of the business. For example, in this newsletter that was built in the application and is responsive in nature, we placed a conversation from Facebook right in line so that people can engage with one another and see a conversation happening. This is an analogy that I like to make, which is okay, which is someone talking on the corner to themselves on a street corner. Are you going to engage them? No, you're going to think they're crazy. But if there's a few people having a fun conversation together, you might want to engage in that conversation. If people seem to like what the person's saying, you're going to engage in that conversation. Why not show that within the email? So to make all this possible is where the application, and for those people who really just wanted to learn a lot of stuff, this was great. Now I'm going to teach you more, but it's going to take a spin on how ContentMX and ListEngage work together to make everything we say very easy for you to accomplish. So we talked about the crowdsourcing of writers. We talked about curation of content and the social conversations. What we have built within the Hub Exchange is a platform that allows you to get all these content sources, bring them together, define and publish them to your website, blog, social media, and to your exact target database. We make it very easy for you to manage all those different pieces and work with ListEngage to help define and integrate your email marketing piece as needed, including your responsive designs. The first step is that we are now inside the Hub Exchange where you can find us. You can click and register for an account that happens on our application and then connect that account right to Exact Target. Becomes a very easy 1-2 step. And once you're connected, you can pull and refer any of your email lists from us to Exact Target. The application has the ability to publish to multiple digital mediums, meaning that you can write the content once, have it sent to your website, blog, social pages, and to help build that email. And the system will take your template and will automatically convert that into a responsive template. So you don't have to worry about your having multiple designs to make sure that your templates are good for Yahoo Mail, Outlook, Google Gmail, your iPhone, your Android, your iPad, your iWatch, which will come at some point. The system takes care of that for you. It takes the content, you choose the network that you want to publish to, and it then publishes the content in the format that it needs. You can grab content from any of the sources that you've defined and then have it automatically pulled in. So we can grab conversations right off of Facebook or conversations right off of LinkedIn and publish those full conversations inside an email or on your web page or on your blog. And we could reference to all these other pages, to all these other sites. So here's an example of what the newsletter would look like in our system. And then you're able to send that newsletter right out to any Exact Target email list that you have. And once the content is distributed, you can log back into Exact Target and look at the different pieces of content that are out there. Now, since we're connected to the Hub Exchange, you've got two choices of how the content will be delivered through Exact Target. One, the full template that is built within the Content MX system, or the Butterfly Publisher, which is our application within the Content MX company, will send that whole template and newsletter out through the Exact Target list. Choice two is we become a section of content within Exact Target's email. So you might take an email newsletter and create a section in it and say, okay, this is for the social content or the original content or whatever conversations that you're going to pull from our application and place it in there. And it becomes a piece of that overall email campaign. So that's the crux of the application. That is how we take the different parts of what we talked about and try to make it very easy for you to hit the end result, which is creating a communications program or a content strategy that achieves all of your company goals, which is to increase your sales. We do that by helping you find an original piece of content, helping you use conversations, help you distribute that content to all digital mediums and make it readable on all platforms, handheld, desktops, iPads, tablets, whatever you have. So your takeaways that we'd like you to think about from this is, remember, it all starts with the content. Quality, frequency, and recency of content influences everything. Email becomes your cornerstone of all other marketing programs. And mobile-friendly designs are imperative to ensure that your content is being viewed and engaged with. So I'm going to let Altaf talk in a second about how his company can help, and then I'll talk about how Content MX can help. I think I kind of covered that a little bit. but I will, plug, give out, List Engage and Althoff a good plug here and say they've worked with over 500 different organizations, helping them create very effective email marketing campaigns. They are the experts in integration of Content MX and Exact Target. So they have a lot of value and a lot of opportunity to offer you and help grow your business. Altaf, do you want to add to that?
Oh, I couldn't have said it better, Jeff. We should have you talk about us more often, I think. No, I think you're right on the money. I think we do a lot of work. Email, social, mobile is sort of our at the core and heart of everything we do. We like to often say this. That's sort of the tenet we go by, right? I mean, like Jim Collins says, our big, hairy, audacious goal is to make sure that emails get delivered and rendered well across the board for our clients. But for that to happen, it starts with a great strategic vision on email, social, great content strategy, the right use of the application. Exact Target is an enterprise level tool. There's lots of bells, levers to pull or push within the application. Talk about AMP script, dynamic content, extracts, measures. There's a lot to it. And what we do is specialize in the application. And now with Content MX as part of our as part of our repertoire here, we can actually help our clients push emails that are responsive within Exact Target. So we truly are excited about partnering with you folks to get integrated and going on the next frontier, which is helping our clients taking their content strategy, email strategy, and making it mobile aware, mobile friendly, and responsive. So that's sort of what I'll end with, Jeff, and give it to you, and then certainly let you proceed through the slides and keep some time for Q&A.
Yep. So that's perfect. And what our goal is at the end of this is we would really like to spend some time talking with you, with all of you. So we want to help you fuel your marketing efforts. And we'd like to basically see if we can get 20 minutes of your time to review what you've done in your email marketing and your content marketing programs. And in exchange for that, we're going to enter you for a chance to win, if we can spend 20 minutes, a chance to win a Nike Fuel band, which I think is pretty cool and I've enjoyed. So I think everybody else, people would enjoy it as well. So we figured that would be a nice little way to help you commit to spending some time on your content marketing strategy. And with that, I'm going to find out if there's a few questions here that we can go to and with a poll. So I do have a question here, which is for Altaf, which, let's see. Altaf, can you walk us through how to track mobile opens?
Yeah, actually, Jeff, that's a great question. We get asked that all the time. Talk about mobile and opens and things of that nature on the mobile platform. How do you actually track it? I mean, it's no longer go by your gut, right? There is truly science behind it. And I'll plug our friends at Litmus. Great tool. We've been using it for a long time, as long as the company has existed, to check our email rendering, how it renders across the board. We never send an email to a client without checking it on one of those kinds of tools, if you will. So Litmus has actually, there is a way to add a tracking code. You go to Litmus, you get a tracking code to track your mobile opens and what have you, get that tracking code and plug it into your Exact Target email or wherever, whichever platform you use. And when you send the email out, you go back on Litmus and you can actually, with the aid of that tracking code, see your entire mobile or email engagement. It tells you is Outlook your email client people are using most as far as mobile phones, which is the environment that people are opening on. So it gives you a lot of information and clearly tells you how your mobile email opens are affected. So we actually see that our email opens, mobile email opens are north of 20% these days. It used to be 10, 12% last year. These days north of 20, 25%, and we can't ignore those numbers. So Litmus tracking code is a great way to very cost effectively get that done. I hope I've answered that question, but if you folks want to know actually how to do it and want to jump on a call or a quick email, don't hesitate to email me or Jeff about it.
Great. Let's see. The other question we have is about content usage. So I actually hear this question a lot, which is, Jeff, you talk a lot about about content and using social conversations or other people's content via RSS feeds. Do we have the right to do that? So first, with RSS feeds, I believe that every time when you think about content, it's really great to curate content that is short message that links back to other people who are experts in the field. I think that's a great way for you to create some engagement and also create some, show people that you're not the only person. You don't think only about yourself as the quote unquote thought leader, but you're sharing valuable insights from other folks. And people like that. They want to have the attribution, they want to have the referrals, and it really helps your brand a lot. The other piece of that is, how about taking it from LinkedIn? Well, there's a few schools of thought here, or two that I work on. One is, once someone publishes something that's public in a LinkedIn group or on your Facebook page, that it is fine for you to leverage that conversation and those responses and place them on your website or an email. If you want to add a level of comfort for yourself or for your organization, feel free to send a quick email, which is a kind of like a dead man's trigger, where it says, hey, if you don't mind, I'm going to use your response in my next email, newsletter, or my blog, or on my website. And then I would give it a day and I would just post. It's a great way to really have great content at your fingertips. There's a lot of really bright people out there, and they're having a lot of great conversations. I think it would do you a disservice not to use them. So we'd like to talk with you more about this stuff. And I got one more question. So please, as we go through the last question here, click on the poll as to whether we can have a conversation with you and spend some time to review what you're doing. The last question is, okay, can you tell us if the templates currently in ExactTarget are responsive email templates? Oh, Altaf, I'll
Yeah.
direct that to you.
Okay, great. All right. Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And for folks that use ExactTarget, you all know very well, right? If I use the words templates A through G, you'll know what I mean. You can actually go into ExactTarget and pick on a template A through G, and those are sort of legacy templates that are in the ExactTarget platform. The short answer is it's a disappointing one. The templates in ExactTarget are not created with responsive email design considerations. Those are the legacy ones. They haven't been modified. I've heard of some talk along the lines of a responsive email being a push and some templates being in there. But the story doesn't end there, right? I think there are ways to I wouldn't say one line of code or very quickly, but there are ways to get help on responsive. There's some great content out there, are blog posts, and many other folks have written some good articles on how to do that. Feel free to reach out to us for help. We can help you convert your emails to responsive. And secondly, at the end of the day, there are templates that we can use, the Content MX and the Social Butterfly application that Jeff just talked about as well, should help you take your email templates and make it very responsive or sort of mobile friendly as well. So short answer, no, the ExactTarget templates today are not responsive email are not built with responsive email considerations, Jeff.
Great. And I actually got one last question that came in here, which I can answer. One of them is, do all ExactTarget clients have access to the Interactive Marketing Hub and Hub Exchange? And I just want to make sure you all know that you all have access to the the Interactive Marketing Hub and Hub Exchange. Obviously, the different applications like ours have their own price points in working with them, but overall, you should check those out. Check us out, obviously, and I think that answers that question. Anyway, I appreciate everybody's time and hope that you enjoyed the webinar and that it answered a bunch of your questions and you got to see how everything works together. And if you have any other questions, please do not hesitate to call or email either of us. And we look forward to talking with you again in the future. So thank you, everybody. Have a fabulous day. Altaf, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate your contributions here.
Very good, Jeff. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. We've done this twice now. It has been fun. Well, thank you, everyone, for jumping on the call today. Look forward to talking to you all. Thanks.